Hey, welcome to Vanishing Gates. I am Jay, your host into the strange and the unexplained, and I am joined tonight by
The horribly ill Jack.
into the microphone sunshine,
The horribly ill Jack.
so they can hear you. Come on, cowgirl.
Listen, fucker. Horribly ill Jack. Okay. That's
Oh,
all
you're
you get
not.
out of
You're
me.
overreacting.
That's all you need to hear
You're overreacting. You're just dying of the hibs. You're
from me.
fine.
I have a cold, and as a man who has the cold, I am de-evolving into a child slightly.
So you have the man cold or the man flu, they say.
Yeah, I got the man cold.
There's a thing they talk about. They say that the man flu exists. There was a study done that men actually suffer during their colds and flus worse than women because something hormonal actually happens. Like women have hormones that are better suited to dealing with small sicknesses like that than men do.
That's bullshit.
It was a study.
I'm calling gender inequality on God or whatever
On God-
created us.
on whatever.
And I demand
Whomever.
equal hormonal treatment.
Okay. Anyway, we're gonna reel it back in.
I identify as someone who has stronger hormones than that.
So- All right.
So now I'm safe, right? That's how that works.
Apparently. So anyway, I do
not
want to
how
give
sick
a big shout out to the guys. If you guys aren't watching the live stream, if you're listening to the podcast, which a lot of you are, which I really appreciate, but if you want to watch the live stream, check out Vanishing Gates on Facebook. That's where we do our live streams, and also you can check us out on YouTube. You can see the video. You can see what the beautiful faces behind these microphones sound like, as Ben Shapiro would say. Isn't that his thing? Like trying to hawk off his membership program that we don't have one of.
I feel like maybe we shouldn't.
But if you're, I don't mind ripping off Ben Shapiro.
Okay.
He's kind of funny.
I mean-
I have a feeling he wouldn't be offended.
I prefer Steven Crowder, but
I have a feeling he wouldn't be offended either.
you go with that.
Anyway, I've already ripped off Joe Rogan's Sober October thing, so I'm down.
Joe Rogan's wicked.
He's awesome. Anyway, enough cavorting over other podcasters who are not us. So if you're watching the live stream, though, you'll see this beautiful shirt. It's obviously a Sasquatch stealing a keg, and it says "Bigfoot stole my beer." That was provided to us for totally a great price because it wasn't free, because I had to beg them to allow us to use it on the show because it's such a great design. If you go to supernaturalshack at etsy.com and check them out, they're a great group of people, a great couple, and they do some awesome stuff. Get all your paranormal needs taken care of there for your shirts and business cards and stickers and whatnot.
Oh, feel good.
Come off it, son. I'm a little off my game too. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm definitely getting the keto thing pretty good. It definitely feels weird.
Does it?
Yeah, I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, and I could not go back to sleep.
Why not?
I just couldn't.
What's wrong with you?
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm going through like the whole ketosis thing, man. Like more energy and whatnot.
Healthy living?
Hey, 1 second.
That's not good
Guys,
for
give
you.
me just a second, real quick. Brief timeout. All right, we're back. Sorry for that. We are dealing with some technical difficulties. We're trying to get our tech guy on here. So, anyhow, as it were, we have been. We did a few shows. It was more levity, more comedy, more humor, more just goofing around because we just needed that. But we are in the October season, the season of miracles, and what I thought would be better for this month would be to do something a little darker, a little scarier, a little more on the fringe and the frightening. And I figured we would start with like monsters and ghost stories and horror stories. So if there's a kind of supernatural, creepy thing you want us to talk about during this month of shows, sorry, I'm messaging people. During this month of shows, good grief, can't even speak. Send us your ideas of creepy stuff that you want us to freaking talk about. vanishinggates@gmail.com. Vanishing Gates, that's with 2 G's, not just one. One word, though. vanishinggates@gmail.com. Or send us a message on Facebook. I tend to respond as much as I can. It's not always exact and always there and on point, but yeah, obviously I can't talk. Good grief. Thank you for that. Okay, we're dealing with stuff. That's why my brain's somewhere else. Anyhow, back to where we were. Jack, what is our topic? Our first really back to the Halloweeny kind of creepiness that we want to talk about tonight.
Oh God.
Really, bro?
Oh, hold on. Let me think. Does it have to do with Bigfoot?
No. We're trying to be more creepy, not so more funny.
Okay. La Llorona?
Yeah.
I got it right, everybody.
There
Look
we
at that.
go. Round of applause for Jack. La Llorona. So why don't you tell us a little bit about La Llorona there, Jack?
Why do I have to tell anybody?
Oh, because.
I feel like that's the mistake is to have Jack tell people about La Llorona.
It's actually funny because
That's
I
the
was always,
beginning of the
you know, it's
bad
funny.
idea.
I didn't even realize I was saying it wrong for the longest time. I was saying it La Llorona because I'm not a Spanish-speaking
I'm
type.
not sure if it's La Llorona.
It's Llorona.
It's Llorona.
La Llorona. Llorona.
Okay, so
La
say it
Llorona.
right.
Yeah, like that. And what does that stand for there, Jack?
The Weeping Woman.
Yes, it does. And why is she the weeping woman?
She is the Weeping Woman because she did something bad.
Because she did something bad.
Point at the microphone, not
So
the
she's
camera.
crying.
Bad.
Okay, so she's the weeping woman because she's crying. So
Well, literally, she's weeping. So that's. I don't know why.
okay, we'll read that right there. I'll help you out. I'm going to give you an out. So this is from Wikipedia, and Jack's going to read this for you.
Oh, Jack's gonna read nothing. So Jack has a cold. He doesn't feel good. You want him to read shit?
Yes, read that. Be creepy about it, though. It's supposed to be creepier.
Aren't you a monster?
I'm a monster.
According to legend, in a rural village there lived a young woman named Maria. She came from a poor family but was known around her village for her beauty. One day, an extremely wealthy nobleman traveled through her village. He stopped in his tracks when he saw Maria. Maria was charmed by him, and he was taken by her beauty. So when he proposed to her, she immediately accepted. Maria's family was thrilled that she was marrying into a wealthy family. But the nobleman's family was extremely disappointed that his son was marrying into poverty. But the nobleman's father was extremely disappointed that his son was marrying into poverty. Maria and her new husband built a house in the village to be away from his disapproving father. Eventually, she gave birth to a son and a daughter. Her husband was always traveling and began to stop spending time with his family. When he came home, he only paid attention to the children, and as time passed, Maria could tell that her husband was falling out of love with her because she was getting old. One day, he returned to the village with a younger woman and bid his children farewell. Ignoring Maria, angry and hurt, took her children to a river and drowned them in a blind rage. She realized what she had done and searched for them, but the river had already carried them away. Days later, she was found dead on the riverbank. She had committed the two ultimate sins, murder and suicide. Challenged at the gates of heaven. Challenged? Who the fuck? Like, they don't know? Challenged at the gates of heaven, apparently, for the whereabouts of her children. She is not permitted to enter the afterlife until she finds them. Stuck between the land of the living and the dead, she spends eternity looking for her lost children. She's always heard weeping for her children, earning her the name La Llorona. It is said that if you hear her crying, you are to run the opposite way, even though it won't make a difference. If you hear her cries, they could bring misfortune or even death. Many parents in Latin America use this story to scare their children from staying out too late. La Llorona kidnaps wandering children at night, mistaking them for her own. Well, why would she do that? That's a really bad time to find children. Mistaking them for her own, she begs the heavens for forgiveness and drowns the children she kidnaps. Get to the gates of heaven.
Why is this funny to you?
We're
We're trying to make this scary, and you're being a jerk about it. Good Lord, man. This poor woman went through a tragedy of murdering her own children because her husband ditched her, because that's a totally fucking awesome idea.
It's like, what's up, everybody?
grief.
Hey, St. Peter, can I get up in these gates now? I found my kids.
Hey, Pedro,
Bitch,
let me
you've got
in.
like 30 kids here. You only had 2, according to my book. Fuck. Can I get in?
I don't think it matters at that point.
I don't think St. Peter's going to be okay with it if you collect more children.
Look, I'm not saying that St. Peter makes the decisions up there either. I'm just saying that this story goes even further back than that. I mean, there's different regional variations in Latin America about this story. Sometimes it's considered to be the tale of La Malinche, the native Nahu woman that had kids with the conquistador Hernan Cortez. and Cortez left her to marry a Spanish woman. And it was the same kind of concept. She murdered his sons out of revenge.
This is important in case you ever run into La Llorona. It is said that when her wails sound near, she's actually far, and when she sounds distant, she's actually very near.
I'm not sure how that works, though. Why is that?
Unsettle you, and the closeness freezes you in place. The distance makes you feel like you should be comfortable and go look, but you're just staying still.
See, now, part of me wonders if looking back...
Maybe she's kind of like Rian Johnson, who wrote The Last Jedi and wanted to, what's the term? Just wanted to undermine your expectations. Wanted to subvert your expectations by doing something really stupid.
Man, let me tell you something. Really?
Listen, okay?
No, we're trying to be scary for Halloween. We've had our funny, happy, ha-ha days.
Fine.
Now we're trying to be a little more serious. Come on, dude.
Anyways.
You can make some jokes here or there, but don't go too crazy with it. You have a tendency to roll downhill like a snowball on meth. A meth ball of one.
I don't get that. But anyway, so apparently she scrapes the bottom of lakes and rivers looking for him. She travels by rivers in a white gown or a black one.
Get close to the mic.
She travels close to rivers with a white or black gown on with a veil. So, I mean, it's, what was that fucking movie? It kind of sounds like the depiction from, have you ever seen, oh gosh, what is it? It's one of those shitty Conjuring movies.
No.
It's not The Conjuring specifically. It's the one where the Insidious. The one where the kid's soul's like left his body or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what I've always thought was the woman in black and that was chasing the dad. It was always like I thought La Llorona.
No.
But
not so much.
That would have been interesting if they were like, hey, this is La Llorona trying to get into a body to find her kids or something. But instead they were just like, no, it's this really shitty backstory that takes 5 movies to explain, and you're just like, oh. Yeah. By the time you finally get to the payoff at that, like the third movie, you're just like, fuck that. I think it's like 3 movies.
I don't know. It was a terrible series.
The payoff was terrible.
Great idea. Okay, back to this though.
It was bad.
So now stories like that. I mean, first of all, one of the craziest things you think of is a mother like drowning her children, but it happens. It happens nowadays.
Yeah.
Like not too long ago, I remember there was that woman that drowned her kids in the van. Like she drove them into the freaking ocean or whatever to let them drown, and she took off.
Yeah,
it's always because they're pissed at their husbands. Like. Look,
well, not always. Sometimes people aren't ready to be a parent. Or
no,
something.
But okay, not always. But a good chunk of the time.
Is that there's I saw something the other day that made me think about that for a second, which is I was at the hospital for like 6 hours the other day, but I walked in and I was walking out and I saw that there was a safe drop-off location. And for anyone that wants to know what that information is, basically PDs, police departments, fire departments, or hospitals are known as safe drop-off locations in case you don't want to murder your children, but rather want to give them up.
Well, that's for infants, though. That's not. There's tons of adoption agencies and orphans. Actually, a friend of mine adopted a little boy, him and his wife, and because the mom knew she wasn't going to be a good mom, and so she said, "Hey," she asked her family to find someone good, and these people are just raising this great family together now as they have this adopted little boy with them, and it's just awesome to watch. But the drowning your kids. So that's kind of a weird thing. And it's even worse so because this doesn't just go after her own kids. Because her first initial, like the bad thing she did seems to carry on eternally. And she continues to do it seems like. That's where the scary part is because your kids aren't safe now. That kind of thing. Now, part of me wonders, it's one of those things like the boogeyman. You tell your kids a scary story to try to get them not to do something. It's like most of the fairy tales and the fables we used to tell were to keep people from doing something stupid that we knew. It's easier to explain to a child something scary than it is to explain to them the truth sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot easier to explain to a kid, you don't trick or treat at this guy's house because he's a monster and he has fangs versus you don't trick or treat at this guy's house because he will have sex with you when you're 6. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like that maybe. Or like you don't go walking at the woods at night because there's a monster out there. You don't say, or you don't go walking in the woods at night because you'll freeze to death and die of the elements, or you might get eaten by coyotes. You know what I mean? Like, and I wonder if that's part of the kids are going to get outside, and being in this part of the world, America in general, and we're in California, we're pretty far from this part of Latin America, but still we have coyotes and whatnot. And the further down you go, the coyote wail. Maybe that was why the distance, when it sounds far away, they're close, and close, they're far away. Because you don't really hear coyotes close, but you hear them far off. So maybe that was, you hear him far off, so the kid goes, "Oh crap, she's close," and so they run into the house. Maybe that was the reason for that. What do you think?
I would say that honestly, it's just when people do things like that, they're just more interested in adding to the legend, and so probably what this is just someone thought that it sounded intriguing and decided to add that shit. Honestly, I mean, not everything is founded in legend. Some
actually
things are just bullshit that just happen to work its way in.
Well, I feel like that actually. I think my explanation was actually pretty legit, fucker.
I mean, no,
you don't think that was a good explanation?
That makes sense. At
Jesus,
the same time, it's like
it's probably the most accurate explanation. Occam's razor. What's wrong with you?
yes. No, I mean, I honestly, I'd say with this particular legend, that instant, for instance, perhaps maybe, but I don't know.
I think it's pretty legit. But now, there's stories of the Weeping Woman going way, way back. And then there's even more than that, because she's also said to be in white often. And the woman in white, there's always a woman in white haunting something, you know what I mean? If you ever notice it, there's always, every haunted house has a woman in white.
Oh, hold on.
Traipses about the halls.
Is the house haunted? I don't know.
I don't know. Is there a woman in white who shows up at random hours? Well, there might be. But no, it's kind of the same concept. And I think the purity that you get, the image of the white, like, it's very deceiving. And I think that's part of the reason of the legend is to lure the kids by deception. Well, and like it seems so pure and so comely. Yeah, exactly.
In the old days, white meant purity. Nowadays, it's a lot of things that were, had meaning back in the day don't have the meaning anymore. So when people look at, like, when you look at a legend, like, people don't realize that when you look at a legend or you look at a ghost, you're not seeing it for what you think you're seeing it for. A lot of days we're very like society nowadays is what I would call like not factual but factual, if you know what I mean. No. It's more surface layer factual, as in it's a lady in white.
Okay.
That's the explanation. That's what I mean. That's what I mean by they're factual, as in it's a lady in white, and that is what it is to them. That's it. There's no sub thought. There's no really anything behind it. As in there might be a legend behind it, like La Llorona. The thing is her image alone has something that means something. Like the way she looks, the way she does something, it has a meaning behind it. Whereas these days, people don't realize that the look itself from the legend had a purpose. There was something behind it. That was part of the story. Part of the story was how they looked, how they dressed. Everything was a detail on purpose when they did it. It's much like Shakespeare. Every little tiny thing meant something. It's just nowadays people don't look at the tiny things anymore. They're only looking at the major plot elements. Oh, she drowned her kids. This is why it happened. That this is why she does what she does. But why does she wear white? Why does she go around in a white dress? What is the point of that? Well, back in the day, there was actually a point to these legends as to why she wore white. And I imagine it's something to do with purity, that she wasn't evil. That there was something that perhaps she wasn't evil.
I literally just said that, though. In a lot quicker point, though. I made it a much more bullet point. I don't know why you went on such a diatribe for that.
Shut up.
You danced around for 5 minutes to say something it took me 2 seconds to say, bro. You are sick today.
I'm not feeling well at all.
Obviously. Anyway, so La Llorona. So basically, now here's the crazy part. There are stories I've read and heard of like people working the border patrol and stuff and dealing with people coming over that actually have these stories. There was like 2 or 3 different stories from different places I've heard of people working the border that actually had encounters with what they thought was a weeping woman. You gonna just play on your phone while we're doing the show again? Son of a bitch. You just keep doing this.
No, my girlfriend needs a number. Hold
on. Okay. Everyone out there in podcast land, you have to wait a moment while Jack decides to do a text message during the live stream.
Fucker. You don't need my ass to talk. Don't even care about what I say anyways.
Well, I do, but the problem is you're being very not cognizant today. Anyway, talking about like the border patrol guys, they'll hear the "Ay mis hijos." Is that how you say it? "Ay mis hijos." Oh my children. Oh my children. Is that my Spanish is really bad, guys? So forgive me. I haven't had any practice in Spanish in a long time.
I don't know how to say it actually.
Ay mis hijos.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, so please don't correct us angrily, but do correct us if you need to, if you feel the need. But border patrol agents will actually hear this as they're dealing with people coming over the border and have to deal with this like situation, and then the people will get scared. Like I've heard a couple of different accounts, or I've read a couple different as well, of people dealing with this and having a situation as they're near the river, and the women would grabbing their children up and running away from the bank of the river really fast, right into the arms of the INS, and it's the craziest thing. So, and I mean, it's coming into like pop culture. There's movies made about it, which I've heard are very, very, very bad movies.
You know, actually, I had a thought to go on a diatribe for a second. Just to go on a small diatribe for a second. I had a thought the other day. I was standing there and we were at Halloween boutique, and I had this sudden thought because a friend of mine told me that her dad was talking to his loved ones the day before he passed. He was like a few days before he passed. He was talking to his mother and his father. And as you recall, when our aunt was passing, she was talking to her father. And when my friend passed away, he was talking to his family members. And anytime we've ever been involved, someone's always talking to someone. And, it occurred to me, what if hell doesn't exist? What if hell is a myth, but only based on the fact that spirits exist because when someone is bad enough that no one from heaven wants to come down and take them up, that you have to be taken up first, that the first people were heralded by angels, and the people that are heralded now are no longer heralded by angels. Instead, they're heralded by those who were heralded previously by those who were heralded. And it's a long list of people who have to take you up to heaven, like opening the gate for you. And you were such a piece of shit in life that no one wants to come down and fucking get you.
That's when you check your thetan levels, L. Ron Hubbard. Jesus Christ. You're going to start a cult with this?
Love you, David. Love you, David. No, but think about it for a second. I was thinking about it because everybody always talks about seeing something. But you never hear, like, drug addicts talking to people except for, like, things that don't exist.
You never hear
God.
You never hear tweakers talking anything but the wall. Like,
they're talking to God. They're like, "What's
screaming
up, Jesus?
at the air and
What's
stuff.
up, Jesus?"
I don't even know, bro. Anything. Anyway.
But that's what I'm saying.
So
Is
another thing when you hear
That's
these
not a bad
stories
thought.
in chat.
Dickhead.
And another thing, when you hear these stories about these legends, it's always like there are never any survivors. Well, where the stories come from? Well, in chat, there's usually lots of survivors. That's the problem. But there's also stuff that's a little more, questionable. This is why there's more of those warning stories, I feel like.
I like how I just lay like an actual decent theory on you. And you're just like, meh, fuck you. Gonna keep going now.
That wasn't a decent theory. That was exactly something we've talked about many times.
We've never talked about that.
We have talked about why there's never survivors. These totally brutal
I was
encounters
talking
that no one
about
survives.
why people go to heaven or why people don't go to
Yeah,
heaven.
no, you tried to start a cult, and I'm shutting that down because I'm pretty sure you have a fever. You
I'm
have
not-
glitter on your cheek.
I didn't say that.
I think you have
I
stripperitis.
didn't say people should worship me.
You have stripperitis. Yeah.
I was just
no,
saying
you know
that
what?
that's an idea of
No
why
one ever
spirits
says
exist.
that. The only people, what they do say, and you're about 2 steps away, and I'm putting the kibosh on it, is I never said someone should worship me. They said they should worship me.
Okay.
That's where you were
I'm
going.
going to stop talking forever now, everybody, because apparently when Jack gives an idea out, Jack is going to get shut down immediately.
Yeah, you are. Hard and fast.
Jack's not allowed to talk.
That's not true.
He's just here for shits and giggles, everybody.
And giggles and shits and shits and giggles.
Shits and gigs.
Just kidding. But no, I mean, I don't know about that. I wasn't sure about where you were going with the context of what we were talking about. That's why. We can approach that on a different subject if you want to write that down. I'm glad to broach that subject because it sounded like a very interesting idea. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense with La Llorona. That's hence my confusion.
Well, I mean, the reason I say that is because she's clearly something that got left behind. She did something horrible. Someone didn't want to take her up to heaven. That's what I mean. Is to say, as spirits, like the worst ones are usually somebody who did something horrible. Maybe they were cursed, but the thing is what I mean to say was that those who are left behind that create spirits or horrible people, it's not happy people. It's always sad people or angry people or someone who had a tragedy or did something horrible that get left behind, that supposedly get left behind, quote unquote, to become spirits. That's what I meant, is to say that that's what she is. She's essentially someone who no one wanted to take to heaven. Everybody shunned and left her here. And that's my point, is that it was essentially she's just one of those spirits. And it just reminded me of that thought I had the other day. Like, what if people are ghosts or, things like that are just people who got left behind. And the longer they're here, the angrier they get. But no one will ever come and get them. So they just become demonic or aggressive.
Well, then wouldn't every ghost you encounter become just this evil cunt?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, if those that would repent, perhaps they actually move on. Maybe they actually find something in the afterlife they need. Maybe they get that unfinished business done.
So they have to like repent to who? If that in that.
No, just in general, maybe that someone finally takes pity upon them, that they've suffered long enough, they go and get them.
Okay. So it's like
Essentially, someone finally they finally come to the point where people are like, well, fuck it, they clearly learned a lesson. Now let's go get them off of Earth. Someone fucking takes pity, like a second cousin or something. He gets bored and says, okay, well, I'm gonna go get him now.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a little more sense. Yeah, kind of, I guess. Not really certain.
I don't know. That's thought.
Yeah,
thought.
interesting
Thought I
thought.
had.
I'm just confused as to why she decides to just murder more children and more children and more children and more children.
Because
and more
it's a
children.
legend, dude. I mean, it's like anything.
How do you know it's a legend? Prove it.
Here's the thing.
Science it.
Is when it comes down to it, it's just a threat. It's like the Blair Witch story says that, like in the Blair Witch, they say that the guy is a threat to kids.
Hold on. You don't think that was real?
Okay. Actually, I'm going to say it again. There's a show on YouTube called Film Theory. People need to watch it. It's they have a Blair Witch one. It's actually really interesting and it's kind of cool. It's the film theory behind it is really good. You should watch it.
I remember watching that movie in theaters and just everyone freaking out, but I had already seen the actors on the Sci-Fi Channel. So I knew it was fake, and nobody else in the theater apparently knew it was fake. Because they didn't see the Alfred Hitchcock found footage film or any of the like Cannibal Holocaust, because people didn't really know what found footage was back then, and I think that's what really changed it.
Well, it's because they thought everything that was up there that they said was real had to be real.
They still think that.
Yeah,
it's called Facebook.
There's people who theorize this, but
if you're watching us on Facebook, everything we say is the
the
truth.
thing about La Llorona is that it's an old wives' tale just to get people to listen or pay attention. It's a warning, if you will. It's just a scary story. I mean, it's what it is once upon a time maybe something happened. Maybe she did something and someone killed their kid, and now.
Well, there's stories of
people
that
just
all
form
throughout
good story
history,
around
though. That's not, and it's something that still happens. So here's the weird thing. Like, you would think the story would be a warning to women not to murder their own children when their husband's an asshole.
Yeah.
But no, the story is to scare kids.
Is it? I mean,
so is it?
Maybe it's a warning to husbands. That if you shirk your wife, she might murder your kids and become a demonic
can always
spirit
make
wandering
more.
the earth, killing other people's
Now,
friends,
if she was going to keep
kids.
going after your new kids every time, then yeah, it would be a thing guys would worry about. But if it's somebody else's kids, who cares?
I mean, yeah, it's basically just it is
Just to sound heartless and savage there for a moment. But yeah, no, I don't know, man. Like I said, there's still stories of people encountering situations where they hear her, and where people are running away because they believe she's there. And it's multiple encounters. It's people that are witnessing it in groups or hearing it in groups, or someone would see it and they would hear it, and someone would run up with their kids. I mean, it's not something that doesn't happen to this day. So it's not super inexplicable or super like unrealistic to think something's going on.
I mean,
maybe it's not a threat to the kids. Maybe it's just like residual energy that flows around with water, because water pushes energy everywhere and stuff.
in theory, the thing is it's the majority of what happens here is I imagine anyways with this particular story is that the religious folk of the old days got their hands on stories like this, and what happened was that someone committed a tragic act, a horrible act, and they had to thoroughly believe that someone has to be punished for it.
This is prior. The story goes prior to religious.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like people were always superstitious. That's something like everybody's always like throughout history, people think you get punished for something. Hades, Tartarus, a million of different things.
Anyone that studied basic physics, every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean, you
essentially
do
people made a story that there's no way she can find peace, and that she was so evil, she did something so heinous that she was essentially locked into position on Earth to become a cursed evil spirit because of something she had done, and that there's no way that she just left, that she has to be here doing something. And so the story evolved around it more than likely.
But that's only one iteration of the story, though. Also, there's other stories where she's just evil and drowns children.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that's the more accurate one. Maybe she just wants to drown kids. She's like a reverse
one Sunday.
She's a reverse lifeguard.
Fuck it.
Yeah, just I got nothing else to do. I'm just a river spirit. I'm just gonna drown your children. I hope you don't mind. And then, like, the people out there, the conquistadores, are out there trying to bring Catholicism to the South Americans. And she's like, oh, I'll give you a baptism, all right. I'll give you a full-on baptism.
Fuck out of you.
Baptize you till bubbles come out. Oh, it's terrible, man. It's just a terrible thing to say. What's wrong with me? Oh, yeah, it's Halloween almost, guys. Come on, this is a darker part. We're supposed to be creepy and weird. All right, we do have a news story that Jack's going to read for you because it's funnier.
I feel like... No.
Oh, you're not going to be able to do this? You guys want to hear something real freaking scary? This is the news story. DEA seized enough fentanyl in San Diego apartment to kill 1.5 million people. This is from NBCLosAngeles.com from the 3rd. Prosecutors say there was enough fentanyl found in a Southern California apartment where a chemistry professor died of an overdose last Friday to kill nearly the entire city of San Diego. 5 pounds of fentanyl and fentanyl derivatives were seized from the University City apartment by DEA Narcotics Task Force agents. Agents also found evidence of a pill press operation, including powders, liquids, dyes, and other drugs, according to prosecutors. The DEA first estimated the amount of fentanyl seized, holy crap, equated to more than 226,000 lethal doses. But on Wednesday, Deputy District Attorney Jorge Del Portillo said there was enough fentanyl product in the apartment to kill 1.5 million people. Fentanyl is 80 to 100 times, 80 to 10, that's a backwards ratio, 80 to 100 times stronger, more powerful than morphine, according to the DEA. Carfentanil, a fentanyl analog also found in the apartment, is 100 times stronger than fentanyl and can be lethal in microdoses. Portillo said carfentanil makes fentanyl look like aspirin. The DA's office is warning anyone who encountered pills pressed with a cat face or silhouette of a woman that they could contain fentanyl or something worse. Police were called to the Canyon Crest Apartments off Genesee Avenue near Eastgate Mall Friday morning after a man and woman overdosed on fentanyl. The man, identified as Gregory Botimer, a former adjunct chemistry professor at Cuyamaca College, was pronounced dead at the apartment. Botimer also worked at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland from February 2010 to May 2013.
I guess you could say he tried to break bad.
That was badly broken. 46-year-old Rose Griffin, who shared the apartment with Botimer, was taken away in an ambulance and survived. Griffin was arraigned Wednesday on possession and distribution charges. Griffin told prosecutors she laced her own vaping cartridges with fentanyl. A vaping device was found near Botimer's body, according to... Because this is what we need. More vaping problems. He's going to regulate more vaping. Jesus Christ. I smell a setup. I smell an anti-vaping government setup.
Smells like a red flag to
Smells
me.
like a red flag. This is a red flag.
False flag attack.
False flag vape attack.
Vaping.
Police, medics, and DEA and hazmat crew responded to the apartment after the initial 911 call. It took more than 12 hours for the hazmat crew to decontaminate the unit.
Jesus.
That's all? That's all? Neighbor Michelle Andretti told NBC7 Friday she'd recently noticed odd behavior at the apartment. Andretta said Botimer was once a family man, but said things changed about 2 years ago when the man's children and their mother moved out.
Maybe they got tired of all the fentanyl.
Holy God.
Always feeling perfectly fine walking
Why
around.
are you leaving me?
Why do I feel perfectly okay
We feel so good right now. Why would you leave me?
I feel
Oh,
fine.
Jesus. Good Lord. Dude, okay, first of all, if that's not some James Bondy evil villain Superman monster kind of shit, I don't know what it's... All that guy had to do is dump that shit in the city water supply and it would have killed everybody. Or damn near close.
I feel like... Where the fuck did he get 5 pounds of fucking fentanyl and that extra... Like, even hospitals can't get their hands on that shit. What did he do?
He probably made it. I mean, he was a chemist.
And then he was stupid with it? What a jackass.
I'm just saying, like...
You know
what else would you do with it?
Failure in drug psychologies.
I don't know. This is why I'm kind of like...
He was trying to
I need
it.
more information. I don't know if I'm buying all this.
I'm pretty sure they were trying to break bad, to be honest. I'm pretty sure that roommate was trying to get him to make that fentanyl.
I feel like there was a... I do feel the false flags flying up all over the place around this one.
For what?
Because, dude, who has that much stuff and just uses it themselves?
What are they trying to false flag right now?
Vaping.
The point of false
Vaping.
flagging is there has to be something to
Vaping.
to, like,
Yeah,
change
because they were
people's
vaping.
Look, like it's like
Yeah, exactly.
Look at the ducky,
They're trying to outlaw all the
snack.
vaping. Outlaw all the vaping. So now you're going to get fentanyl from your vape pen, guys. I don't know if you
Guys,
knew this. You're going to get carafentanil and lethal dosages from your vape pen because that's a thing now. So, yeah, outlaw vaping. There's going to be a government hashtag somewhere there. The next thing you guys know, you're going to buy one of those fucking vape pens, and the government's going to kick down your door in the middle of the night and tear your shit up. Take all your vapes. It's a thing. Jack, want to join us again here, buddy?
Yes. Look.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You put
False
the fucking
flag.
dinosaurs on the goddamn island, you get them out of the goddamn mansion. Sorry, I'm still mad about that from Jurassic World too.
What? Are you vaping fentanyl right now?
Apparently, I wish I was vaping fucking fentanyl right now, if I'm honest.
It would hurt me less
I don't
too,
know
I
what the
guess.
fuck fentanyl is, but if it can
Oh, it's
fucking
bad.
knock me down.
Okay,
I'll
so you know
take
how
it.
we have all those heroin addict, meth head weirdos out here?
Yeah, I love this guy.
Yeah. The heroin out here, it's not heroin. It's mostly fentanyl. Fentanyl is a really, really high-end, a really, really strong addictive narcotic that was introduced by the government to make people addicted to painkillers and the pharmaceutical companies. That's why the pharmaceutical companies right now in California are getting butt-fucked by the government and the prosecutors because they knowingly addicted a ton of people on opioids.
Okay, well, let's face it. In California, they also knowingly rape us with taxes and are too stupid to stop doing that.
Man, yeah, but sometimes, when you're a pharmaceutical company or somebody and you just decide, I'm going to addict a bunch of people on something so I can sell a bunch of it at a higher price, people get uptight about it.
Okay.
I'm just surprised the Bloods and the Crips didn't roll up on the pharmaceutical companies to start shooting up the place for competition.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on.
It's legit.
First off.
Legit.
First off.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I am a firm believer in the idea that we should just be drugging up 90% of the people in this country.
Jesus Christ.
As I feel like 90% of the people in this country have colds and they need something to stop that cold from fucking them up.
No, bitch, you just need Sudafed.
Oh, just Sudafed?
You don't need ephedrine. You don't need fucking heroin for your common cold.
I feel like I want to start heroin.
You don't even snort coke. You don't need to be Pablo Escobar right now.
I need to be Pablo
You are
Escobar.
whining like a little
By the
girl.
end of the day, I will be Pablo Escobar like a motherfucker.
You're just gonna snort all the coke.
No,
All
I'll
the
fucking
coke.
eat it.
Just don't use the fentanyl because that'll just kill you.
I'm
It
gonna
ain't gonna do
snort
any
it. I'm just gonna
good.
fucking eat it.
The upside with fentanyl is you might have a runny nose and a congestion and a killer migraine, but at
I'll
least
be
you won't
dead.
notice it.
I'll be too dead to notice it.
I realize that these tweakers out here have found the key to long life. They say stress is a killer.
Oh, yeah.
These guys are so drugged out, they're not stressed about fuck all. They're going to live forever just doing meth. And they're skinny. All of them. Yeah. So, I don't know why we're not... I'm waiting for that to be the next health fit fad is methamphetamines and microdose methamphetamines. Someone's going to jump on that. Certain of it. Anyway.
No.
So we talked about La Llorona.
Okay, but hold on.
And drugs. What?
You know what's sad is the scary part of our story today wasn't La Llorona. It was straight up 1.5 million people could have fucking died.
Yeah.
Very seriously.
Yep.
All
Yep.
because one dude in an apartment was like, hey, let's get our hands on some fucking fentanyl.
And carafentanil.
And that's all he had to do. Like, this is society today. It's so beautiful. And here's the thing. The problem isn't
Find beauty in
happening in
ashes.
the middle of Tennessee or Texas or Idaho or places where people have, the ability to succeed.
It still might be.
It could be. But the difference between those states and California is the homeless rate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the problem for that is because taxes. Taxes kill people.
I mean, maybe.
So the only thing I can say is this. First off, I present a great stable platform as future governor of California.
Oh, God.
And you should vote for me, as I will both decrease taxes and somehow magically find money to cure this problem. But unlike the current power structure here, who promises to fix things while still fucking it up somehow, I will fix it. And I promise you, I will also solve the gun problems and that pesky freedom issue that everybody is worried about, I will also solve overnight.
And don't forget about the Chupacabra
Overnight.
gap.
And the Chupacabras.
As far as we know,
Chupacabra
South
for everybody.
Texas.
All right?
Yeah,
Everybody
a
gets
Chupacabra on
you get a
every plate.
Chupacabra, you get a Chupacabra. Everybody gets a fucking Chupacabra. And La Lloronas. Okay? La Lloronas for everyone. It's going to go well.
And you're supposed to go to work after this?
I am not. I don't even know if I'm fucking drive.
You don't even drink. How are you like this right now?
I am so fucked up.
Did you
right
vape
now,
fentanyl?
dude. Apparently, I vape fentanyl.
I think
I'm
Jack
just tired
vaped
right now.
fentanyl.
I don't feel fucking good.
All right, guys. Well, again, this is October, so we're going to do our more scary version of the show. Yeah, we're talking about more scary topics. I mean, ish. If we can keep Jack in line just a little bit.
Wow. I was actually staying in line.
Uh-huh.
And I discussed a theory I had.
You did. Yes, you did.
You know the thing though, actually, because you got off La Llorona, and I wasn't sure why you'd gotten off that yet, because there was still something to talk about.
Well, you didn't.
I saw something that when we were reading that it somehow prescribed it to Lilith and Eve, or yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I couldn't
There's
figure out what the connection there was.
Okay, so the story of Lilith and Eve. Okay, so most people are familiar with the story of Adam and Eve back in the day. And no, Lilith and Eve were not lovers. Calm down, folks in California. It's all right. You're fine. But apparently, according to certain Hebrew legend, that Adam had a first wife before Eve, Lilith. So Lilith was just, Eve did the whole, hey, here, have an apple that God said not to eat kind of thing. Okay, small transgression, doomed everyone to hell forever, whatever.
Small transgression.
Lilith was actually just a vile, evil person. Like, she was just terrible from the get-go. Like, they messed up, according to the old tradition, and that's why God ended up taking Adam's rib to make Eve, so they'd be the same thing instead of something separate. Because Lilith was separate from Adam. She was a separate entity. So not human, mind you. So calm down, folks who want to worship Lilith. There's still people out there that do that.
What is the point?
They invoke Lilith. I don't know. So Lilith became this horrible witch demon thing that ended up eventually becoming like the biggest feminist icon ever. I don't know. That's about it. That's all there is to it. There's no real backstory.
You know what gets me there is actually that's kind of funny. That kind of makes me laugh a little bit, because the reason that Lilith is a feminist icon is because she wasn't pulled from Adam's rib, which means she wasn't made from man. But the best part about that is still that it doesn't mean she wasn't made from God.
Well, here's the other part. She wasn't made from man, so she was different than man. But these same women that complain about Eve being made from man, they're not cool with a dude fucking a pig.
Giant bitches.
Interspecies erotica, all right? Can't believe we touched that on this.
But
Okay.
I mean, but how exactly does she tie into La Llorona according to
Okay,
this?
like she drowns babies. That's about it.
That's her story then.
Yeah, that's she likes to kill things.
So she's just basically a homicidal bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of I don't know how that ties in, but
She's the first wickedness in the world.
oh, she's just the first evil.
Yeah, the first, pseudo, almost human evil that's related to us-ish.
So
I think she actually became, like, something, a line of something else that got interbred with other humans or something down the line. I
They
don't know.
better fucking put, like,
Shit.
this is slightly off topic, but they better put her in the new Diablo. When they make Diablo 4, she
I
better
think
be
she
that
was
bitch.
in, like, Diablo 2.
Was she? No, because it was Andariel, and Dariel was the first one.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, there's more than... Anyway. Irrelevant. So there are also stories in old Europe and stuff that are all on the same lines. A noblewoman, or a woman who was of peasant blood, and a nobleman beds her and has kids with her, knocks her up, leaves her, so to get revenge, she drowns the kids. It's not just in South America, it's all over the place. There's different stories and different fables over it. So it's not just a telling of Latin America. There's stories like this all over the place.
Yeah,
and again, it still happens in real life today, so who knows what story is real and what's not.
It's a story as old as time. Beauty and the Beast.
I don't think that Belle drowned the Beast's kids, but
I'm starting
part
to
of
think
me
maybe she did.
wonders if she had puppies and got freaked out, or
Starting
did a
to be
Miss Leeds and
curious
had the
there,
Jersey
Belle.
Devil.
What happened?
Did a Miss Leeds and have the Jersey Devil, maybe instead. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching Vanishing Gates. This has been fun.
That was bad.
Good grief. Anyway, so we'll be back next week with another installment of our creepier Halloween stories. Whatever. Not Halloween stories, but creepier topics. Now, do us a favor, though, and let us know what topics you want us to discuss for the next few weeks, because I want your input so I can do some research on it instead of just half-assing everything like we always do. So your input's very important. Don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe all across the board. If you're listening on iTunes or on Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review. Give us a review everywhere you go. Check out our Facebook page, Vanishing Gates on Facebook, actually. You don't have to do gmail.com. That's our email address. Send us your stories there. If you want to have your story read on the show, we're down for that. It's awesome. We appreciate that. Let us know, too, where you're listening to us or if you're watching the live stream. We have a YouTube channel up still. This will be up there later here in a few minutes after the live stream. So for those of you who aren't watching the live stream, if you want to watch us, we do this on Facebook, on our Facebook page, Vanishing Gates. Blah, 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 blah. Anything else there? Did I miss something?
No?
Why am I asking you? Anyway, guys, I am Jay, and this is...
Sick Jack.
Yeah. So,
Not feeling good.
have good nightmares.
I'm dying.
Oh, whoa. Wait a second. Have a good nightmare. Why the hell did it take me almost 3 years to come up with that?
Have a good nightmare.
Right? Like, I hope somebody doesn't have that, because that's going to be my new sign-off. That's great. Have a good nightmare. How did I not come up with that? It's almost 3 years, dude.
I don't feel like we've earned it.
You can eat a bag of dicks. How's that for a nightmare?
That could be our shutdown. You could eat a bag of dicks. Have a good bag of dicks.
Bit much there, Jack. Bit much.
Sorry.
All right, guys. So I am Jay, and I will catch you guys next week. So have a good nightmare. And you want to do your thing there?
Goodbye, everybody.
Jesus Christ. It never gets old. So you're going to do a little dance there?